Okay, we are recorded. Jada Star, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm all good. I'm all good. I'm calm now. We've had technical glitches trying to get everything set up, but we're here and we're chatting. You've got your songs ready to go, so I'm looking forward to this chat. Um, Jada, it looks very spiritual where you are there. Behind you, I can see like is that a looks like I can see moons and is that what do they call them things? What do they call them things with little tassels on
The
behind
little
you?
little tree of life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lovely. Where are you
I thought
today?
I'm in my living room. This is my little happy space. I'm on my little boho living room couch, and it's covered with blankets. And I had my moon set up, and I just got this the other day because it felt like there was just a big hole there, and so I saw this at a little shop, and I thought it was so pretty, so I thought it fit there just fine.
Fantastic, fantastic. And home is where currently?
Home is in Nashville, Tennessee. I actually live about 25 minutes outside of downtown Nashville in a little town called Smyrna.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Jada, I'm gonna kick off your playlist, and I'm going to ask you, please, to tell me the song that you regard as having the greatest ever intro, please.
The greatest ever intro. This might be controversial. There are so many songs. There are so many. I considered Layla. I considered a lot of different songs. But the one I've gone with is one that makes me feel something really
Yeah,
deeply. And it's actually the opening riff of That's What You Get by Paramore.
love it.
Um, I really feel every time I hear it, it sounds exactly like what falling in love feels like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like it grabs you like this and pulls you in to kiss you. You know, when you
Yeah,
hear it, it's just da 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 da. It's so beautiful. That's one that always gets me like really pumped up.
wonderful, wonderful. Paramore, a big band for you. You're a big fan.
You know what's funny? Yes, I love them. I have so many. I don't really have favorite bands. Um, I I'm one of those that can say I have like 20 favorite bands. Like I love that. I love so many different bands and so many different kinds of music, and I adore Paramore. I think they're so wonderful. And but for me, it's that particular song. Um, it's because I tend to like artists. I tend to like their songs before I like them, of
Mm,
course. And but I just go on a song by song basis. So like for
yeah,
me, I can say Paramore's great, but it's because this song is great to me
yeah.
in particular.
Tell me about how you go about when you're involved in the writing process of music. Like, tell me about the focus and the attention you spend on crafting the intro.
Right. What happens with me, and I've learned that everyone's process is so different. But what happens with me is I get the lyrics in my head first. I tend to get a line or a little hook that'll pop in my head, and then I will sit down with my guitar. And I am not a prolific guitar player. I know just enough to accompany myself, and to come up with a melody. And so once it comes to the intro of a song, um, I like getting together with my musicians or with, for instance, my producer right now is my cousin, Richie Owens. And we talk about what the song makes me feel like and what I want other people to feel like when they hear it. And then they are far more talented musician wise than I am as far as the instrumentation. And so we tend to work together to so typically sometimes we'll discover the intro to a song long after I've written it,
Yeah,
after we've discussed this is what it makes me feel like and this is what I want it to convey to people.
wonderful. Jada, tell me the first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please.
uh, I this is one of those core memories, that you have when you're a little kid. It's like one of your first memories you remember.
Mm,
And my mother, Frida, is such an amazing songwriter and such a great music fan. And so she always was playing all kinds of music around me all the time. And she'd go through these jags of liking a certain artist, almost like you like a certain kind of food, so you just eat that for a week or two. So she was on a Jim Croce jag. And I was very small. I remember it was one of those times that she had just started letting me hold her records. She had a very big record collection, so she would let me hold them and look at the pictures. And she put on Jim Croce because I thought he looked like my uncle Floyd, her twin brother. On the cover, they looked very similar. And I said, that looks like Uncle Pepe. And she said, let's listen to it. So she put it on and she said, this is my favorite. And she put on Time in a Bottle. And as a very tiny child, I was listening very closely to the lyrics. And it was the first time I kind of understood what was being said. Like, it was such a beautiful metaphor. And I was so tiny, but like I still understood, oh, if that's right, people go away and you want to spend time with them and you want it to be valuable. And it was just it was like I just suddenly became aware of that all in that moment while listening to this song.
Yeah.
And it's still a song that makes me get emotional because when I made my list for you, I listened to it in the car. I went in the car and I listened and I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, that song still makes me tear up every time I hear it.
So what is the emotion, if you had to pinpoint it?
The emotion is that this is very, like, this feels very dark. I'm not trying to be dark and sad, but isn't it interesting that when you fall in love with a person, and you're like, that's going to be my person forever, it also hands you a little hourglass because there's going to be an end with that person. You commit to that.
Yeah.
It's like this unspoken commitment. And I feel like that song illustrates that so beautifully.
Yeah.
If I could make days last forever, like if words could make wishes come true, I'd save every single day like a treasure and then I could spend it with you again.
Yeah.
You know? And like it's one of those songs that the older I get, the more it makes sense because I feel my love of my life, you know, like later in my life. And I found him now and I hear the song and I go, oh, I have chills now just thinking about that, being like, wow, okay, I have to be. It's kind of like the Jason Isbell song, If We Were Vampires, right? Like the
Yeah.
idea of if I could just keep this forever and ever. So instead of being sad about it, let me just live it and enjoy it with you.
That's beautiful, right?
Yeah, love is so sad.
Well, Jada, you said that, you know, you spoke about the music that you would listen to with your mum. You know, it's also, you know, we can't not discuss the fact that you come from a family of very, very established musicians. And growing up, you grew up in Nashville as well.
I did. I was born in Nashville, and I the early part of my childhood was Nashville, and then we moved to upstate New York, and we lived in Bearsville, New York, for about 2 years there. So I was just always surrounded by musicians, and when I was home, all my family, most of them were musicians. I say musicians, but it's writers. You know, they are
Yeah.
musicians, but just people that know how to tell a story or relay information in a really nice way.
And so with all of that, and you know, being surrounded by writers and the huge legacy that Dolly has,
Mhm.
how did you, was there ever any question as to what industry you was going to work in? You know, was music always at the forefront, or was there, or you know, was you going to be a vet, or was it always just like, hey, come on, look, I'm immersed in music. This is me.
That's so funny that you said that. I actually was not going to do music. I loved it, but I was very insecure. I was very aware of how talented my mother and my uncles and my aunts and Dolly, like all of them are. And I'm a person that's always been kind of a wallflower. And I would never want anyone to think that I would even attempt to be on that level. You know what I mean? And I see that happen in musical families a lot where people will go, well, who does she think she is just because her, you know, and I think that's so sad, especially when someone has a lot of talent and
Sure.
sometimes people won't listen. And um, I want, I just wanted to be able to help people in another way. And so I explored psychology and I explored veterinary medicine, which I actually
No
started with
way.
veterinary medicine. I did. And what's really
And
funny,
on
Stu,
cue, the cat walks behind you on
you
cue.
nailed you nailed it. I did. I was in high school. I had gone to discuss things with Wake Forest University. I was going to go there for their vet program. And I after I was about 22 and I was in college, and this is so gruesome. I was dissecting like my 15th fetal pig. Like that's like what you do when you follow that. And this one particular day, I go to do my job, my thing, and I lose my nerve. I felt icky. Like it made me very nauseous. And I thought, huh, weird. So I put it away and I came back. And over the week, I realized, oh, I don't think I can do this. Something has happened and I'm too tender and I don't think I can do this. Shoot, for a job. So then I leaned into psychology. I thought that would be a wonderful way to help people. I got my associate's degree in that. And then I had my child, my son. And about 2 years later, I was going to go back to school to get my bachelor's and to continue. And that's when Dolly presented me with the opportunity to perform in the family show at Dollywood, because she said, I would love to have one more person. And I heard that you can sing, and I really would like you to give it a shot. Would you like to try it? And I would never say no to her. She's so wonderful. And so I said, sure, I'll try it. And then it turned out that I still got to talk to people and help people. And it was the perfect thing for me. But she already knew, because she's an angel like everyone thinks she is. It's all true.
Tell me about the song that reminds you of your time at school, please, Jada.
So there's so many. And when you were saying school, I had answered a question for something else a few weeks ago where I thought of like elementary school. And in that case, it was because I grew up in the early 80s, and it would be the song Once in a Lifetime by the Talking Heads.
Oh, what a
However,
record. What a great record.
such a good, yes. So, but then I thought, well, what was my kind of go-to Gen X high school jam? What really did I love when I was learning who I was? And I recall a 2-year period of White Town's Your Woman being in my life all the time. And I loved it so much that on a Sunday, when I was listening to Casey Kasem on the radio, I sat with my cassette player waiting for that song to come on, to record it. And I made myself a mixtape of all the songs over 2 or 3 weeks. And that was the first song on my mixtape. And I would put it in every single morning on my way to high school.
Fantastic.
And it's just such a jam. It's so funny. And it's just a fun song. It's just so much fun.
It doesn't sound like anything else either.
No.
It's quite a unique sound. And bizarrely, years ago in the 90s, around the time that this came out, I ended up meeting Joyty, who was White Town.
Oh, wow.
And he was not what you'd expect a number one global pop star to look like. He was a very kind of reserved, kind of quiet guy. And that was just a track he made at home. And it was Joe Wiley, I think, was the Radio 1 DJ in the UK that heard this demo and was like, we need to play this on the radio, and played it on the radio. Yeah. And it went absolutely crazy. And instantly he was being offered record deals, ridiculously big record deals.
Wow.
And he signed a deal, and Your Woman come out, went straight to number one in the UK, then topped the charts in the States. And this guy from Derby in the UK was just like, oh, what the hell has just happened? And but that's what happens when you write a perfect pop song. And it's a absolutely fantastic song.
It is so
doesn't
wonderful.
Sound dated either.
No. And listening to it again, I thought it's still so. Now I have forgotten because of my old age myself. I had read an article, and you might know, I can't remember what it was, but the thing he had sampled at the beginning. It was a thing.
Yeah. What was that? I can't recall.
Yes, he sampled it from something from way back.
Yeah.
And I just thought that, and as a teenager, because I was very with my friends and my friend group and my family group, and my mother was an out person, and so I was surrounded by a lot of music that was from like the gay culture, and
Yeah.
so getting to hear a song with a man singing those words
Yeah.
was so wonderful. It was so refreshing. It was so like it was an act of rebellion in the South, to blast it in your
Yeah.
car. It's how teenage me would decide if I wanted to hang out with someone. I'd play that song, and if a boy or someone was like, "Ooh, I don't like that," I'd go,
I don't know
"Well,
you.
maybe I don't like you then." Yeah, because this song is perfect. What are you talking about? Yeah, that's so funny. I love that you met him. Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, and you know
And yeah,
what?
it's just a
In
pure
a
perfect song.
in a really weird uh thing, I met him at a small club night that he'd set up. He just wanted to basically DJ, and I remember before I met him, all we was talking about was our mutual love of Talking Heads, which is quite interesting, seeing as we just spoke about Once in a Lifetime.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yes, which incidentally, Once in a Lifetime is another song that I can listen to every year and it
Oh,
means something different to me.
yeah. It,
Also, And She Was. That's
oh,
another one for me.
fantastic, fantastic.
Yep, because I'm
Oh,
like, I get it now. I've been that woman. I get it.
yeah.
It's great. Yeah, it's so good. I love talking about music. I'm sorry, I love
Oh, you can talk as much as you want. I love it as well. I wouldn't be doing this podcast if I didn't. And
it.
yeah, you're the first person that's chose White Tam, uh, which is fantastic because I've been sitting on that story for 540 episodes, and it was just like finally someone's chose this fantastic
I'm
record.
so happy. Yes. And remember, I was going to high school at that time, I was living in Sevierville, Tennessee, a tiny little southern town. I loved it. It was a great place to grow up, but that wasn't a common song that everyone was listening to.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah,
felt like I had like an inside scoop onto something that was really special
yeah, absolutely.
by loving it. Yeah.
Can you remember what the first record you bought from a record store was, Jada?
Yes, I do. I said just one, but there were actually three I bought at the same time.
Fantastic.
But the first one I bought was ELO. Um, it was I can't remember the name now. I had written it down, but it was the one that has Evil Woman on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yes. So Out of the Blue, I think that's what
yeah,
it is. So I bought that. I had just turned 13. No, I just turned 12. It was my 12th birthday. My dad, who is wonderful, also a huge music lover, took me to the record store, CD store, and he said, he got me a stereo with a CD player, my
yeah.
first one. And he said, let's get you some music for it. So I bought that album, 12 years old me. I'm a weirdo. I bought Bette Midler's Some People's Lives,
So
which I
dramatic,
still
so
love.
dramatic for your first record.
I loved it so much. Just yes, Miss Otis regrets, all of that stuff. And then to top it off, to finish it out, and what really made a huge impact on me was Simon and Garfunkel, the concert in Central Park.
Oh, wonderful.
Because my dad had pointed out, I said, I like Simon and Garfunkel. And my dad said, that's a good one. Your mom and I were at that. He said,
Wow.
I know. He said that they were staying in a apartment or a little unit somewhere overlooking Central Park, and they could hear it. And they sat
Wow.
out on the balcony and heard it and listened to it. And so I bought it. And that honestly, that one has a big impact, had a big impact on how I write things as well. Because every song that's in that concert is so good and it's so beautiful. And it definitely made me fall in love with Paul Simon,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, as songwriters, as a songwriter, he was absolutely ridiculous. It was just beautiful song after beautiful song after beautiful song. And he's got a lovely voice, Paul Simon, but then you throw Art Garfunkel's voice on top of that as well,
Right.
and it just creates pure magic. And it's
Yeah, and it's them singing old friends together.
yeah,
Like in particular on that album, because again, 12-year-old me, I believed it. I was like, oh, these two are old friends.
yeah,
Like this.
yeah.
So yeah, I just very dramatic, I guess is what it is. You're correct. I do like very dramatic music.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too, my friends were very into, I'm not trying to be not like the other girls, kind of person, but my friends were very into like boy bands and pop music. And I loved that stuff, but I didn't have as much free access to it because my parents and the people I was around were all listening to like different music.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
listening.
yeah.
Yeah, they were listening to more what would be considered now classic rock and things like that. So I kind of fell in love with that stuff as a kid, and
But yeah, I think you're lucky there to be able to,
I
if you want to watch MTV and watch all the pop stuff, great. But if you
right.
want to kind of then, as you say, you're allowed to sort of play with your mum's records and be able to,
Yeah.
experience hearing all of those other artists. Like, what a fantastic kind of, multitude of music that's all going into the pot. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I do feel really fortunate for that. And I'm very careful, Stu, with like, I'm very careful to not, though, because I was trying to choose my words just a minute ago to not say, well, I was listening to real music. I don't like when people gatekeep music. It makes me sad. It feels
Yeah,
like you're kind of trying to control art and stuff. And sometimes I just like silly stuff, and sometimes I like dramatic stuff. And some people just like, that kind of pop music. But I don't, I try not to at all see that as anything different than what I like, because
yeah,
I
yeah,
wish that everyone would just be allowed to love everything like they want to,
yeah.
um, without people kind of, pooping on it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jada, tell me the song that soundtracked your years going clubbing.
um, my clubbing experience, again, I was always very shy. So when I turned 21, my mother on my 21st birthday, she said, "Let me take you to get a drink. You are a big girl. Let's go have a drink together." And so we went to a club in Knoxville called the Electric Ballroom, which no longer exists. And it was next to train tracks. It was under a bridge. It seemed very spooky. And it was like a warehouse. And when we walked in, it was actually this wonderful, everyone is welcome type of place. It's the place I saw my first drag show. And my mother took me in there and we both drank a 7 and 7, which I thought was disgusting.
What's a 7 and 7?
It's a 7 Up, and it's like Seagram 7. It's some kind of yucky bourbon. It's
Right.
like
Oh,
7 Up.
okay.
Yeah.
So you're
And
putting 7 Up with bourbon.
I know. It was I was 21, Stu. I'm so sorry. But I enjoyed that day with my mom, and I watched a drag show. And then after that, that was a place I would go visit by myself in my 20s. And I would go sit and watch drag shows and listen to music. And it was a place where it wasn't a gay club, it was a everybody club. And I felt very free. Like the type of music they played though was more of like the New York club gay scene music,
Yeah.
and it was so fantastic. And so one of my favorite songs that was always playing was that Feels So Good by Sonique.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me high. I love that so much. And it was another one that felt like it was grabbing you by the
Yeah.
collar and pulling you out onto the dance floor. That was frequently playing. My second runner up though would be have you ever heard Swing My Way by KP and NB? Shorty
No.
swing my
Oh,
way.
yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
very
yeah.
like, yeah, anything like that, anything that had a great like R&B kind of groove. Like I always loved like soul and funk music. My parents would play that when it was like a party
Yeah.
time. And so that's what it made me. And just Sonique also is so crazy talented. Like her voice is just
Yeah, yeah.
perfect. And I loved that song. I always liked music. Again, it was very dramatic, right? Like she starts out
Yeah.
like it's very dark and spooky, and then she lifts it and everyone loses their mind on the dance floor. It was really fun.
And
Yeah.
you're going to drag shows, which is all about the drama, right?
Yes. Always. I think part of that, and I love telling people this, that like I've always, because I was surrounded by such beauty, because I was surrounded by such beautiful women in my life, I, through no one's fault, just my own little silly brain, felt very insecure and very small. You know, it wasn't their fault, but they were larger than life, right? You grow up with Dolly and my mom and my Aunt Rachel, and they're all breathtaking. And so when I started to discover drag and I started to see these people expressing like peak femininity
Yeah.
as an art form, um, and I saw these people, and in now it's everybody, which is amazing. But like early on, it was mainly men doing it, and I thought, how badass, how brave that you do that to express yourself. It makes me emotional, like to just be like, this is so important to you that you want to show that to people. It's your art. And that made me fall in love with it. And so it also helped. Drag performers have helped me get confidence in myself.
Yeah.
As a female, that helped me a lot, very much so.
And I'm imagining at that point, you know, some of the places that you know you said that you grew up in might not have been as progressive and as understanding of drag and the gay scene.
Right.
Is that a fair assumption?
Yes. But I think that it just has a lot to do with, it's hard to undo decades and decades of things you've been taught. So I
Sure.
understand that. I
Yeah.
do. I think the best way to help people accept one another is to just live it and be it and normalize it.
Yeah.
And then everyone will eventually realize we're just here to love each other and watch one another's art and appreciate it. And there's
Absolutely.
this magical thing you can do when you don't like something. You don't have to watch it.
Yeah. It's pretty simple, really, isn't it?
It really feels like it
Yeah.
would be so easy. But no, that whole community is very close to my heart because especially early in my 20s and going to those clubs, I gained this group of friends that accepted me completely, even shy. And
Mm.
I gained this group of men and women that taught me that if you're scared, you can put on a mask, you can put on a
Yeah.
little wig, you can put on some extra eyeliner and then go do your stuff. Because my Aunt Dolly does that. She says that to people. She says everything that is looks fake, but what's in here is real.
Yeah.
And that's the point. And I think that's, yeah.
And at that point, when you was, you know, in them sort of formative years of going out, experiencing different club culture and meeting people from all manner of backgrounds and stuff, and different sexualities and stuff. Country legend aside, was you aware that your aunt was a gay icon as well at that point?
Yes, absolutely. Because there was not a month would go by, there wasn't someone who would come out dressed as her. And I loved it so much. I loved it so much. It was exactly what you just said, like, because Knoxville, Tennessee, especially in the early 2000s, there weren't a lot of places to just go hang out and listen to music and dance. I wasn't a person that liked to drink. I just didn't like the taste of it, frankly.
Mm.
That's all it was. But so I didn't enjoy going to boy girl clubs, like
Yeah,
because everyone was there it's a college town, naturally, of course, they're going to be like that. So there was only like a handful of little places you could go and listen to good music and just sit and not worry about someone trying to take you home,
yeah,
where you could just enjoy, especially being, a female, like a 20 something year old girl. I could go to a place like that and I was more likely to be looked after
yeah,
than, yeah, like just to say, come have fun with us. So like that meant a lot to me because I don't think I would have come out of my
yeah.
shell if not for that
Oh, I bet.
experience, because I wasn't going off to party and be crazy. I just wanted to listen to good music. And those were the places I felt like I could do that. Also, though, it was kind of sad. You'd find a wonderful place and in a few months it was closed and you'd have to find another
Yeah, yeah.
place.
But for
Yeah. And
me,
it's different now. Yeah.
I find like I'm a club promoter. That is my job,
Oh, wow.
Jada,
Okay.
and it has been for as long as I can remember. And in London, where I've put events on for 20 years, wherever the gay scene moves, the rest of it feels like the rest of club culture, fashion, it follows that scene. Wherever a club is shut,
Yes.
you know, and they'll set up another venue that'll be this iconic, you know, gay club, and then before you know it, everything that is coming out of the speakers in this and the fashion, it filters back through, and it is trend setting constantly
Yeah.
in London. Like this, it's always been something that's fascinated me, and it's, you know, and thankfully, you know, London is very progressive now, and it's a very
Yeah.
welcoming environment now. But like, you know, I'm sure going back 20, 30 years, it probably wasn't that. But
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing though, right? Is the tenacity of the community to be like, but we're still us. We can't be anything but ourselves.
yeah,
So we're just going to keep doing what we do. And and isn't it funny though that that also tends to be the community that will also welcome someone in after they've made a mistake. They'll
yeah,
go, well, okay, well, why don't you come in here and sit down and we'll talk about, like, I love that it's getting a little better.
yeah,
It's not better, but it's getting a lot better because we're all just ants in an anthill. We all have different jobs. That's okay. Like, they're not any different. Like, they're
yeah,
doing what they do and what they're best at.
yeah,
And that's good. Like, we can all kind of jam together. And it's really, it comes down to music because, like, so much good music comes out of people who are unable to express themselves in other ways. And
absolutely.
I think that's, yeah, and I think that's why that particular, there's so, when you sit and listen to certain dance hall hits, like the who West End Girl, Pet Shop Boys, when you sit and like look at their lyrics though, to these like great dance beats, they're tearing your heart out. Like, they're telling you this deep dark stuff of not like trying to fit in and stuff, and in the meantime we're all jamming out, to this great beat. I just love that. Like, I love that. I just love that about music.
I had a run this afternoon, and it was soundtracked by the Pet Shop Boys,
Oh.
and they're one of my favorite bands. And I love about them is exactly what you said. You know, if you listen to West End Girls, that bass line on the drum sounds, it's such an incredible dance record. But Neil Tennant's vocals and lyrics are just, like you say, they rip your heart out, and you know.
Right.
Some of the later stuff, like there's a track that they called Rent, and like, oh my god, it just breaks your heart. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think to take that back to what you were saying earlier about, you know, you don't judge, you know, what's proper music, what's pop music, what's guitar music,
Yeah.
and I think it's just as hard. I'm probably going to get some comeback on this now from the listeners, but
Uh-oh.
it's just as hard to play a you know a Jimmy Page solo as it is to write a perfect pop song, because writing perfect pop songs, but you can't just do that. There's an art to that, and there's obviously an art to playing very complex, complicated guitar solos. But to craft that perfect little pop record, that White Tan, that's not easy. There's a reason that Joy didn't
Right.
have loads more hits after that, because it's not easy to do. You know,
It's
only
not.
these people like your aunt can do it. Like, you know,
Yes.
not many.
Because they have to sacrifice so much for it.
Yeah,
And they know that. Like, another story I love is, I'm sitting here looking at my phone, so I can't look it up. But maybe you've been brainwashed too. The Greg Alexander.
yeah.
Okay. So amazing. That record that came out with You Got the Music in You. What is it?
You only get what
Don't
you
give up.
give.
You've got that one. You only get what you give. That is a perfect record. That record is so good from top to bottom, and to me.
Do you know
It's
the story
perfect to
about
me.
this? Do you know the story behind this guy?
I just bits and pieces
It's
because I'm fascinated
unbelievable.
by him.
It's
Okay.
unbelievable. Like, I
Because
was,
then we never heard another peep.
well, he then wrote a song for a UK artist called Ronan Keating, called "Love Is a Roller Coaster," and it was I think it was a number one hit in the UK. But I don't know if you remember the video, but he had the hat pulled down over his face in the shopping
Yeah.
mall, and he never wanted to be famous.
Nope.
Like, so I don't know how much you know of this, but I have gone out of my way to try and get that guy on this show, because I am
Really?
fascinated because from what I'm told, if the story's correct, you may know differently, but obviously that was a global smash. You know, you get what you give, and it is a perfect record. And then apparently after that, they were like, right, we need a second album, and we got to tour it. And he was like, no, I don't want to tour it. I just want to be a studio guy. I don't want to be a pop star. And so he apparently recorded this next record, and then the label just went, oh, here's your tour dates, here's all your press commitments, blah blah blah. And from what I gather, he then sent a fax to every single TV network, every single radio station, saying, fuck you, fuck everything you're about, and systematically killed his own career because the label were forcing him to do it. And he was just like, well, okay, if you're going to try and make me do that, I will fuck it up from the inside.
Yeah, and he went, I'm flipping off right now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I just thought, that's incredible.
What a cowboy, man.
What a cowboy, to just kind of have the world at your feet.
And that's the ultimate setting boundaries. Like,
yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't want to do this.
He's like, I told you guys. I kept telling you guys. There's an I'm obsessed with a song of his that was an unreleased demo called Love Like That.
Okay.
That I can only find on YouTube. If you get a chance, please listen to it. It is I love this song so much. And no one will ever hear it. It breaks my heart. It's fascinating to me that because he also wrote, what was it? Game of Love. Like, people didn't realize how much stuff he had written.
Yeah.
Very similar to the girl that was in Pitch Perfect, that it turned out she had written tons of songs for Rihanna and everybody else, and nobody really knew that. Yes. It's amazing. Like, so I love him, and I love that story. I kind of heard bits and pieces of it.
If that's true, and it's not just been kind of added to over the years, that is amazing. Right. Like, what a renegade to just go, nah.
Absolutely. Nah. It's crazy. I love it. It's probably not the most professional way to operate.
No.
At the same time, he's an artist. He's gonna be an artist's gonna artist.
I just love the thought that the record label are just going, right, we're going to get him on this radio station. And they're calling him up and they're going, we are not having that guy in here. He's just sent us a fax telling to go fuck ourselves. It's like, what? It's
right.
Like, and
what's so funny is that that's a story. If it was huge and out there, everyone would be even more obsessed with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's how we naturally are, right? Yeah. And instead he kind of kept it quiet and was like, please leave me alone and let me write songs.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. But that album's very, very good. Yeah, he's amazing. I adore him.
I'm quite fascinated by those kind of sort of characters that had sort of, you know, some hits in the 90s and then sort of disappear. And then all of a sudden, I think it was, do you remember the band Semisonic that done Secret Smile?
Yes.
And like,
yeah.
From what I gathered. Closing Time, yeah. Like, apparently that guy has written bucket loads of hits for everyone. Apparently he's this like huge songwriter now. But I find it fascinating that I guess you have that little taste of fame and then just go, right, okay, I've had my bit of fame. Now I'll just I just want to write songs. And
you're like, that is not for me. But I do remember hearing, like, again, because that was right before social media and we all had computers in our hands. Yeah. Right. So like, I think that helped a lot too.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we would have known a lot more. But I had seen on little gossip shows here and there that people were unhappy that he wouldn't be seen, and people were kind of unhappy about this, and then he just disappeared. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of documentary film made about him. Like, I want to know more, but I also don't. I like the fact that it's all a little bit shrouded in a little bit of mystery. Yeah, right.
You gotta have a little mystery. I wonder where he is now. Well, if he comes on your show, tell him this crazy girl in Nashville said hi, and he inspires her to write good.
Fantastic. Yeah, he's wonderful. Okay, well, look, we you just mentioned Nashville there. Let's take you home for the next track. Jada, tell me your favourite song from your home county.
Well, you had said in the question it had been like from your home country.
It was county.
I thought it said country. It says county.
Yep.
Okay, then I will go to Dolly. I'll go to Dolly for this one,
Okay.
since I had answered with the incorrect thing in my brain. I apologize. In my home county of Nashville, I would have to say it's a toss up between Bargain Store by
Wow.
my Aunt Dolly. I absolutely love that. And the other would possibly be by Chris Stapleton, uh, Goodbye Nashville, Tennessee.
Lovely.
Excellent song. Tears my face off every time I listen to it. Um, yeah, I'd say those two, as far
Okay.
as songs that are so lyrically good that I could just listen to them over and over.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And for your last track, Jada, you get to be a tastemaker, and I'm going to ask
Okay.
you to tell the listeners of this podcast a song that you think they may not know that you would like them to go and listen to.
And this is such a crazy question, Stu. It's like we only have billions to choose from, right? Like it's such a
Yeah.
gosh. The first one I had thought of was because it's kind of like what I feel like is sort of a deep cut for people nowadays, which was Fortress Around Your Heart by Sting. It's such a great heavy-handed metaphor that still works so well. And I love the idea of similar to Jealous Guy by John Lennon.
Yeah.
It's a song where you're saying, hey, I know I effed you up
Yeah.
and I'm really sorry and let me try to fix it,
Yeah.
you know?
Love that.
And I love that part of that song. And I just anything off of Ten Sumner's Tales is so good as well. Like
Yeah.
there's something about the dreamy way that he weaves a story for you.
Yeah.
Um that I very much like. And lately this week, I'm very much obsessed with the song Good Luck Babe by Chapel Roan.
I've not heard that.
It's so good. And I was like, she's such a young artist too. And I was like, teenage me would have really, this song would have meant a lot to me. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah.
music now and what they're getting to have. And it's very good. And it still has a very like nostalgic feeling to it, almost like an 80s bop.
Oh, nice.
Um, I like that there's so many like younger artists now that are reaching back to
Yeah.
those great 80s pop songs, and there's nothing like 80s pop, especially nothing like British 80s pop.
Oh, it's the best.
Um, it absolutely is the best.
Well, Jada, we put that track and all the other tracks we've spoken about on a Spotify
Oh,
playlist to accompany the podcast, so people can go and listen to all of the music that we've spoken about. Now, we've been speaking about your aunt's music, everybody else's music, but we've not mentioned yours. So,
oh.
so, so let's talk about your music. What's happening?
Well, I am really excited. I get to come to the UK in June. And I'm going to, I'll be playing at Glastonbury on
Oh,
the acoustic
wow.
stage. I'm still in shock. I'm still still expecting to open my eyes and like I've just dreamed all of it. I'm incredibly honored, incredibly excited. So I'll be playing Saturday at the acoustic tent of Glastonbury.
How
And
cool.
then after that, I've got a show at the Cavern Club
Oh,
on July 4th with some friends, and I'm really looking forward to that too. So I'm just hoping I can get you guys to like me enough for me to come over there and sing for you all the time.
I mean, if you're going to come to the UK and play, I mean, you don't do things by halves. You're starting at Glastonbury and then you're playing the Cavern. I
I believe me, I am I am disbelieving all of this, but I'm just gonna ride this wave out and hope that everything goes great. And it feels nice to have people responding to the songs I write. And
yeah,
it feels really nice. And I think what's most special about performing for people is when I get to connect with those people. And when I look at a crowd, no matter how big it is, I try to kind of scan everyone and get an idea of maybe what they need to hear
yeah,
or what would make them feel nice to hear. And I love that about the UK audiences. I love all my like any audience, but
yeah,
something about the UK audiences is they seem to want to know a little bit of a deeper level to the story. They seem to have a little more patience to a longer attention span.
Yeah.
understandably, to hear what you have to say. And that's good because I am long-winded and I talk way too much.
Oh, well, it's been an absolute delight talking to you today, Jada. And we've managed to get over the technical difficulties. My dog's not barked. No one's knocked on the door. So we've had a lovely
I'm so
conversation.
excited about it. Same here. My dog has been sleeping peacefully right out of sight, right here. I've been like, I hope you don't have to pee the whole time I'm talking. And my cat made an appearance, but we did okay. This is so
Fantastic.
lovely, Stu. What an honor.
Oh,
Thank you so
oh,
much.
thank you. So, Jada, if people want to keep up to speed with UK shows and new music and
Yes.
anything you're doing, where's the best place to keep up to speed with you?
So I am most active on Instagram as Jada Star Music. I'm also posting on Facebook because I know that a lot more of my UK fans do use Facebook. So I'm on
Mhm.
there a lot more often now for you guys. Also, I have a website, jadastar.com, where I have just added a calendar and I'll have more things to add to it soon as I get them more locked in. That's your best place. And also, you can always send me like a message and ask me questions. I love answering questions. And follow me on Spotify and things because I've really, when I get more followers, I notice and it makes me feel so good. And I'm so happy to have like all my new people lately have come from the UK and it just it feels like a big hug. It's so nice. So
Oh, wonderful. Well, we'll tag you in everything when this episode comes out. So if people aren't following you already, we'll make it nice and easy for them to go and do so.
thank you so much.
Jada, it's been an absolute delight talking records with you. We finally got to talk about White Town. It took me 6 years of this podcast, but I've got there. So I have to thank
I'm
you for that.
so happy. You have to have me back and we'll just talk about Whitetown the whole time.
Oh, let's do that. Let's do that. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll have you back. And in the meantime, we'll go and do our homework on the new radicals and we'll find out some more gossip.
Deep dive.
Then we'll have a catch up and we'll talk
Yes.
about all the goss.
Because someday I'm gonna say, Greg Alexander, can I please can I do your song Love Like That? Because I really want to, and it's only on YouTube.
Oh,
Go
fantastic.
listen to it, Stu. It's so good.
I'm going to go and listen to it now. Jada, I'm going to press stop on here, but don't go anywhere.
Okay.